Welcome to the Free Thinkers International podcast. Here you can listen to the latest articles published on freethinkersinternational.net. Subscribe now and never miss an episode. Want to hear your story or article featured? Share it on our website, and who knows, our listeners might enjoy your story soon. I'm Sound of Liberty. I hope you enjoy this podcast. Why doesn't a revolution happen in Iran? Written by Mehdi Khalaji. The Islamic Republic has always lived in a state of critical moments. Much like the revolution, its crises change form or multiply but never seem to end. So why hasn't the political system faced the risk of destabilization? In recent years, the widening class divide, systemic government corruption, and international pressures have fueled public discontent, sparking sporadic nationwide protests. Why has the government managed to control these protests so far? Over the past 4 decades, the monopoly on information has slipped from the government's hands. External media, especially satellite channels, the proliferation of the internet, and frequent international travel have profoundly transformed the flow of information and public awareness. Even official or semi-official media daily reports on the economic corruption of government officials and affiliates, exposing elements of the repression against political dissidents and civil activists. A large segment of society is simmering with frustration over current affairs. And yet, why doesn't the deepening sense of despair among the public lead to a break from passivity? Is there any prospect for regime change and establishment of democracy? Finding answers to these questions is challenging without agreement on the concept of revolution and a clear definition of the Islamic Republic's nature. The term revolution has sometimes been conflated with popular uprisings, coups, religious wars, or radical governmental reforms, leading to ambiguity. Here we use revolution to refer to a widespread mass movement that often through force and violence ends the fundamental elements of a political system to replace it with a desired new order. According to Lenin, revolution occurs when people are no longer willing to endure life under established system, while the ruler's ability to exert power through existing means has eroded. Therefore, widespread poverty and misery do not necessarily lead to popular rebellion or regime collapse. On the contrary, general despair can, under certain conditions, sustain the ruling class by portraying it as the sole hope for guaranteeing basic needs like bread and security. The Islamic Republic is neither a democratic system nor a fully authoritarian one. Rather, it belongs to the family of regimes that political scientists today refer to as hybrid regimes. This model combines democratic institutions with authoritarian mechanisms. Just as hybrid vehicles use 2 types of energy sources, hybrid regimes rely on both ideological structures and coercive power, allowing them to navigate serious challenges without resorting to fundamental reforms or risking collapse by fully closing off reform options. Other terms for these regimes include competitive authoritarianism or electoral authoritarianism. Most regimes that emerged after the fall of the Eastern Bloc and the end of the Soviet Union, such as in Russia and certain developing Latin American countries, serve as examples of hybrid regimes. Ironically, several of them result from velvet revolutions or forceful overthrows that in practice have merely given new forms to the toppled totalitarianism. Many of these regimes have survived for decades, and signs of cracks or collapse in their structure remain relatively scarce. The hybrid regime possesses a democratic form, but a totalitarian substance. It represents a flawed and committed democracy, where a closed circle of elites competes for power, utilizing elections and democratic institutions as tools for legitimization. Although elite competition is serious, the electoral process cannot be described as fair or free. The central role of the supreme leader is such that he embodies the state. In the discourse of the Islamic Republic, the leadership is sometimes referred to as the system. The true seat of government is the leadership house. According to expediency, the leader serves as the supreme legislative authority, oversees its implementation, and has the right to abrogate it. Special emergency measures and authoritative decrees can turn any situation into an exceptional condition, suspending the law in the process. The application of the Constitution is ceremonial and conditional. Centers of power dominate government institutions and powers, and lack the conventional authority and independence found in democratic countries, including the judiciary, which is dependent, law-violating, and an appendage of the regime's hardcore. The system is designed in a discriminatory and privileged bestowing manner, with ethical blindness being a prominent characteristic. Unlike the totalitarian regimes of the 20th century, hybrid regimes exhibit creative ideological flexibility. While promoting skepticism toward Western culture, they often surpass others in the westernization efforts. By reducing the ideological energy needed to mobilize the public, they either blow the horn of extreme nationalism or evoke religious sentiments to compel even opponents of the government to align with their domestic and foreign policies. The ideological principles of quasi-authoritarian regimes are theoretically confused and ambiguous, and in practice they are applied arbitrarily. The theoretical ambiguity and operational irregularity lead to a reduction of ideology to a form of personality cult. Commitment to the ruling system is interpreted as loyalty and allegiance to its powerful individuals and institutions, especially the leadership. Citizens' freedom to participate in the political process depends on their closeness and loyalty to the pillars and centers of power. To gain access to the power stronghold, personal allegiance and loyalty are more crucial than commitment to ideology. Politics entails the equal participation of all citizens in defining the common good and making decisions for national interests. Democracies define the state from the perspective of such politics. However, in regimes like the Islamic Republic, politics is defined from the viewpoint of the state. The ultimate goal of the government and the philosophy of law is not to protect national interests and citizens' rights, but rather to serve an abstract notion like the people, and in the case of the Islamic Republic, the pure Islam of Muhammad. Hybrid regimes build the most powerful and extensive intelligence and security apparatuses to scrutinize not only government departments and organizations, but all public spheres under a security and military microscope. Civil society institutions and organizations are free to operate, but they function within the framework of strict oversight and unwritten rules imposed by the government. Civil society is alive but weak, able to push back against the state and impose its demands only in exceptional conditions or through a slow and limited process. The government considers limited freedom of expression for a few opponents only to project an image of being democratic. In hybrid regimes, media that are classified as non-governmental enjoy greater freedom of action, yet they are subject to the soft control of security and oversight apparatuses and sometimes become platforms for their propaganda. In this context, social media plays a dual role. On one hand, they break the state's monopoly on information, while on the other, they create a fertile ground for the growth of populism, compensating for the weaknesses of traditional state institutions in mobilizing the public. Thank you for tuning into the Freethinkers International podcast. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. Remember, you can explore more thought-provoking articles and stories on freethinkersinternational.net. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you never miss an update. Got a story to share? Publish it on our website and your voice could be featured in an upcoming episode. Until next time, keep questioning, keep exploring, and stay free. Bye-bye.